Crash! The sound ripped through the stillness of my quiet suburban street, jarring me awake at 2 a.m. My heart pounded as I stumbled to the window, peering into the darkness. There, under the faint glow of a streetlight, lay my mailbox, or what was left of it. The poor thing was crumpled in the dirt, its post bent like a straw, looking like it had been body slammed by a bulldozer. I'm Jake, just a regular guy who moved to this cookie-cutter neighborhood dreaming of backyard barbecues and friendly waves. Instead, I got a war with HOA Karen and her vendetta against my mailbox. This wasn't the first attack. For weeks, my mailbox had been taking a beating. First, it was a dent, like someone had sideswiped it. Then the door was ripped off, flapping in the wind. Last week, the whole thing was flattened, letters scattered across my lawn like confetti. I'd replaced it twice already, shelling out cash for sturdier models each time. But this was personal. My dark gray mailbox wasn't just functional. It was my tiny rebellion against the Homeowners Association, HOA, that ruled our cul-de-sac like a medieval fiefdom. The HOA was led by Karen, a woman who wielded her clipboard like a scepter and her rule book like a guillotine. Karen was the kind of person who'd measure your grass with a ruler and fine you for a single weed. She'd knock on your door at 7 a.m. to lecture you about a trash can left out 5 minutes past pickup. Everyone feared her, whispered about her, but no one dared cross her. Me? I made the mistake of ignoring her friendly notes. See, Karen had a thing about my mailbox. Apparently its dark gray shade was non-compliant with the HOA's approved color palette. Some nonsense about it being one shade off regulation silver. I thought it was ridiculous. My mailbox was sleek, modern, and frankly, awesome. I wasn't painting it for her. Big mistake. The attack started a week after I tossed her third note in the trash. At first, I thought it was kids, maybe some bored teens with a baseball bat, but the precision of the damage felt too deliberate, too spiteful. I'd find my mail soggy in the grass, my packages accidentally kicked into the street. I reported it to the HOA board, but they brushed me off. Vandalism happens, they said, avoiding my eyes. I knew then, Karen was untouchable. She wasn't just the HOA president. She was the neighborhood's petty dictator, and I'd become her target. I wasn't going down without a fight. I bought a cheap replacement mailbox from the hardware store and rigged up a security camera, one of those motion-activated ones with night vision. I hid it in a bush, angled perfectly to catch the culprit. If Karen was behind this, I'd have proof. For days, I checked the footage obsessively, jumping at every notification. A raccoon, a jogger, nothing. Then, 4 nights later, my phone buzzed at 1:17 a.m. I opened the app, and there it was. Jackpot. Karen's bright red SUV, unmistakable with its gaudy HOA Prez license plate, rolled up slow. She leaned out her window, baseball bat in hand, and wham! My mailbox didn't stand a chance. She swung again, laughing, a sharp hyena-like cackle that made my skin crawl. Then she peeled out, leaving my mailbox in ruins. I watched the footage over and over, fury bubbling in my chest. This wasn't just vandalism, it was a power trip. Karen thought she could terrorize me, break me, force me to bow to her silver paint demands. She was wrong. I saved the video, backed it up on 3 drives, and started planning. I'd show her what happens when you mess with a guy's mail. That footage was my golden ticket, undeniable proof of Karen's reign of terror. I saved it to 3 different drives, sent it to my email, and even uploaded it to a cloud server for good measure. I wasn't letting this slip away. The next morning, I fired off an email to the HOA board, attaching the video with a polite but firm message. This is vandalism. I expect action. I figured they'd have to do something. After all, I had Karen dead to rights, bat in hand, laughing like a cartoon villain. I waited for a response, refreshing my inbox like a man possessed. Hours turned into days. Finally, a reply came, and it was worse than I'd imagined. We've reviewed your complaint, the email read, but there's no clear proof of intent. We suggest securing your property and reporting further incidents to the police. No proof of intent? I had 4K video of Karen smashing my mailbox like it owed her money. I called the board secretary, hoping for clarity, but she sounded nervous, her voice barely above a whisper. Jake, you don't understand. Karen, she runs everything. She's got dirt on half the board. Nobody's going to cross her. I pressed her, but she hung up, muttering about a meeting. I tried another board member at the grocery store, catching him by the produce aisle. He looked like he'd seen a ghost when I mentioned the video. Look, Jake, he said, glancing over his shoulder. She's been HOA president for years. She collects fines like a mob boss. You're not the first to complain, but nothing sticks. Nothing sticks? I was livid. Karen wasn't just a bully. She was a master manipulator, playing the victim at HOA meetings with crocodile tears, while slapping us with fines for breathing too loudly. I'd seen her in action, whining about disrespectful neighbors while her enforcers, her loyal minions on the board, nodded along. My video should have been enough to dethrone her, but the board was spineless, terrified of her wrath. I even considered going to the police, but what would they do? Cite her for property damage? She'd probably talk her way out of it, claiming it was an accident, or worse, that I provoked her. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. This wasn't just about a mailbox anymore. It was about Karen thinking she could terrorize me, control me, force me to bow to her ridiculous silver paint rule. Every night, I'd lie awake imagining her smug face as she swung that bat. She'd hit my mailbox 3 times now, each attack bolder than the last. The cheap replacement I'd put up was already dented, and I caught her on camera again, this time at 2 a.m., giving it a quick smack as she drove by. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. She thought she was invincible, untouchable, the queen of this suburban kingdom. I couldn't let her win. But I also couldn't stoop to her level. Vandalizing her property or confronting her directly would only give her ammunition to play the victim. I needed something smarter, something that would hit her where it hurt without landing me in trouble. That's when I called Mike, my old college buddy who worked as a welder and had a knack for crazy ideas. I invited him over, cracked open a couple of beers, and showed him the footage. His eyes widened as Karen's bat connected with my mailbox. "Dude," he said, leaning back, "this lady's unhinged. You need to fight fire with fire. Or better yet, titanium." I laughed, thinking he was joking, but Mike's grin was deadly serious. "I've got access to some serious materials at the shop. We build a fake mailbox, make it look like your old one, but craft it out of titanium. Reinforced, anchored, the works." She hits it, her car's toast, and you're just a guy with a really tough mailbox. It was insane. It was brilliant. It was the kind of plan that could only come from late night beers and a burning desire for justice. I was in. Karen had no idea what was coming. Mike's garage became our secret laboratory, a place where revenge took shape under the hum of fluorescent lights and the clank of metal. We weren't just building a mailbox, we were crafting a masterpiece of justice, a trap so perfect it deserved its own theme music. Mike, with his welder's goggles and mischievous grin, was in his element. "This is gonna be legendary," he said, sparks flying as he worked. I leaned against a workbench, sipping a soda, my mind racing with visions of Karen's downfall. This wasn't just about my mailbox anymore. It was about every neighbor she'd bullied, every fine she'd slapped on us, every smug smirk she'd flashed at HOA meetings. The Avenger, as we dubbed our creation, was for all of us. Our goal was simple but devious. Make a mailbox that looked exactly like my old one. Dark gray, slightly weathered, unassuming, but was secretly indestructible. Yeah, Mike had access to titanium scraps from his shop, left over from some industrial project. "This stuff's used in jet engines," he explained, holding up a gleaming sheet. "Light, strong, and basically bulletproof. We paired it with steel. Rods for extra reinforcement, welding them into a frame that could withstand a wrecking ball. The mailbox itself was a hollow shell, designed to look flimsy but backed by enough strength to laugh off anything Karen could throw at it. The post was the real genius, though. We poured a concrete base 3 feet deep, anchoring it with rebar. "She'd need a tank to knock this over," Mike said, wiping sweat from his brow. Every detail mattered. We sanded the titanium to mimic the texture of my old mailbox, then painted it with the exact dark gray shade Karen hated. We even added fake rust spots and a few scratches to sell the illusion. Standing back, we admired our work. The Avenger was a doppelganger, indistinguishable from the cheap boxes I'd been replacing, but this one could have starred in a superhero movie. "She's gonna lose her mind," I said, grinning. Mike high-fived me. "And her bumper." The planning didn't stop there. I wanted this moment captured in glorious detail, so I upgraded my security setup. I added a second camera for a side angle, both motion activated with HD night vision. I tested them obsessively, adjusting angles to catch every inch of the mailbox and the street beyond. I even rigged a small floodlight to a motion sensor, subtle enough not to spook her, but bright enough to make the footage crystal clear. "You're going full CIA," Mike teased, but I didn't care. This wasn't just about catching Karen. It was about making her defeat a spectacle. Installing the Avenger was its own adventure. We waited until midnight, the neighborhood silent except for the occasional bark of a dog. Dressed in dark hoodies, we hauled the mailbox to my curb, giggling like teenagers pulling a prank. Digging the hole for the concrete base took hours, our whispers punctuated by the scrape of shovels. We poured the concrete, set the post, and bolted the mailbox in place. By 3 a.m., it was done. We stepped back, admiring our work under the streetlight. The Avenger stood proud, looking like any other mailbox but ready to deliver justice. "She's got no idea what's coming," Mike whispered. I nodded, my heart racing with anticipation. Back home, I couldn't sleep. I kept checking my camera feeds, half expecting Karen to strike that night. I imagined her face when she hit the Avenger. Shock, rage, maybe even a little fear. For the first time in weeks, I felt in control. Karen had ruled this neighborhood too long, terrorizing us with her fines and her bat. Now the tables were turning. I set my phone to alert me at the slightest motion, propped it on my nightstand, and tried to rest. 2 nights later, at 1:43 a.m., it pinged. My eyes snapped open. Motion detected. I grabbed my phone, pulse hammering. Showtime. I grabbed my phone, pulse hammering, and opened the camera feed. The footage was better than any blockbuster. Karen's bright red SUV, with its gaudy HOA Prez license plate, crept up to my curb under the moonlit street. The new floodlight snapped on, bathing the scene in crisp light, and my dual cameras captured every detail in glorious HD. Karen leaned out her window, baseball bat gleaming like a knight's sword. Her face, twisted with smug satisfaction, told me she thought this was just another night of terrorizing my mailbox. Oh, how wrong she was. She wound up, her bat slicing through the air, and clang! The sound was like a gong in a cathedral, echoing down the street. The bat ricocheted so violently it flew from her hands, clattering to the pavement. Karen yelped, clutching her wrist, her face a mix of shock and pain. The Avenger stood untouched, its titanium shell gleaming mockingly under the floodlight. I stifled a laugh, watching from my bedroom window, coffee in hand. This was already better than I dreamed, but Karen wasn't done. Her shock morphed into rage, her eyes narrowing as she muttered something I couldn't hear but could imagine. Probably curses about me, my mailbox, and my disrespect. She slammed her SUV into gear, the engine roaring like a wounded beast. I leaned closer to my phone, barely breathing. She revved, tires squealing, and rammed the Avenger head on. Crunch! The sound was apocalyptic, metal crumpling, glass shattering. Her front bumper folded like tinfoil. Both headlights exploded into shards, and steam hissed from her radiator like a dragon's breath. The Avenger? Not a dent, not a scratch, standing proud as if nothing had happened. I punched the air, whispering, "Yes!" Karen stumbled out of her SUV, her door creaking as she nearly fell onto the pavement. Her face was a masterpiece of fury and disbelief, lit up by my floodlight like she was on a movie set. "What is this?" she shrieked, kicking. "The Avenger! Bad move!" She yelped again, hopping on one foot, clutching her toes. I bit my lip to keep from laughing out loud. Neighbors' lights flicked on, curtains twitching as the commotion woke the street. Karen, realizing she had an audience, went full meltdown. "This is a trap, a booby trap. I'm suing you, Jake. You'll pay for my car." Her voice cracked, high-pitched and unhinged, as she waved her arms like a cartoon villain. I stayed calm, sipping my coffee, letting her dig her own grave. She pulled out her phone, dialing with shaky hands, and called the police. "Yes, officer, I've been attacked. My car's destroyed by a dangerous mailbox. You need to arrest my neighbor." I raised an eyebrow. Dangerous mailbox? This was going to be good. Within 10 minutes, 2 cop cars rolled up, their lights flashing, turning my quiet street into a crime scene. Karen rushed to them, pointing at the Avenger, then at my house, her voice a non-stop torrent of complaints. I grabbed my laptop, queued up the footage, and headed outside, ready to drop the hammer. The officers, a grizzled veteran and a younger guy, listened to Karen's rant with blank expressions. "He built this to ruin my car," she insisted, gesturing wildly. I stepped forward, calm as could be. Officers, I've got video evidence of what happened and why. I handed over my laptop, playing the footage from both angles. The cops watched, their eyes widening as Karen swung her bat, then rammed her SUV into the Avenger. The younger officer snorted, quickly covering it with a cough. The veteran raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am," he said, turning to Karen, "you destroyed your own vehicle, attacking private property. You're lucky he's not pressing charges." Karen's face turned a shade of purple I didn't know existed. "This is outrageous," she spluttered. "That mailbox is a hazard. It's not regulation." The veteran cop sighed. "Lady, it's his mailbox on his property. You hit it with a bat and your car. That's on you." The younger cop, barely hiding a smirk, added, "Maybe don't go smashing mailboxes at 2 a.m. Neighbors, now gathered on their lawns, murmured and chuckled. Karen, realizing she was the laughingstock, stormed back to her SUV, its front end sagging pathetically. She peeled out, engine groaning, leaving a trail of coolant on the road. The cops handed back my laptop, the veteran muttering, "Nice mailbox." I grinned. "Thanks." The next morning, I woke to a neighborhood transformed. Word of Karen's midnight meltdown had spread like wildfire, whispered over coffee makers, and texted in group chats. My phone buzzed with notifications, neighbors messaging me, some with laughing emojis, others with outright cheers. I knew I had to share the footage. This wasn't just my victory, it was for everyone Karen had bullied, fined, and terrorized. I edited the video, splicing together the best angles, her bat swing, the clang, the catastrophic crunch of her SUV, and her unhinged rant. I titled it HOA Karen versus the Unbreakable Mailbox and uploaded it to our neighborhood's private Facebook group, adding a short note. "This is what happens when you mess with my mail." Then I hit post and waited. Within minutes, reactions poured in. Laughing faces, clapping hands, fire emojis. Comments flooded the thread. "Jake, you're a hero." She had it coming. "Is that mailbox for sale?" By noon, the video had over 100 shares within the group. Neighbors I'd barely spoken to tagged each other, recounting their own Karen horror stories. Fines for unapproved flower pots, threats over kids' chalk drawings, even a $200 penalty for a basketball hoop. The group became a digital town square, a place to vent years of pent-up frustration. But it didn't stop there. Someone shared the video outside the group, and by evening, it was on public pages, racking up thousands of views. My inbox overflowed with friend requests and messages from strangers. Legend. Take down all the Karens. The HOA board couldn't ignore it. The viral video lit a fire under them, and neighbors, emboldened, started digging. At the next HOA meeting, held in a packed community center, residents demanded answers. I brought my laptop, ready to play the footage on the projector, but I didn't need to. Everyone had seen it. The board, sweating under the glare of angry homeowners, admitted they'd been dodging complaints about Karen for years. Then came the bombshell. A neighbor, an accountant, had audited the HOA's books after seeing the video. Karen had been skimming dues, funneling thousands into a personal account under the guise of maintenance fees. Gasps filled the room. The board, desperate to save face, voted unanimously to remove her as president. Cheers erupted. I sat back, grinning. The Avenger had done more than wreck her car. It had toppled her throne. Karen's downfall was swift. The board filed charges for embezzlement, and rumors swirled about an investigation. Her red SUV, still battered, vanished from her driveway, replaced by a "for sale" sign within days. She put her house on the market at a loss, and by the end of the month, she was gone, moving truck and all. Neighbors threw an impromptu block party to celebrate, complete with burgers, beers, and kids running wild. Someone brought a piñata shaped like a mailbox. We took turns swinging at it, laughing, until our sides hurt. I heard Karen had moved to another town, but I like to think she'd check every mailbox twice before swinging anything again. The Avenger became a local legend. It stayed as my mailbox, its titanium shell a quiet reminder of justice served. Kids took selfies with it, dubbing it Karen Kryptonite. Neighbors dropped by with six-packs, thanking me for standing up to her. One even painted a tiny plaque. The Avenger, defender of the cul-de-sac. The HOA, under new leadership, scrapped half its ridiculous rules, including the Regulation Silver nonsense. My dark gray mailbox was finally legal and iconic. Dottie's video kept spreading, hitting Reddit, TikTok, even local news. Reporters called, but I stayed low-key, letting the Avenger speak for itself. Online, people shared their own HOA horror stories, turning my prank into a rallying cry against petty. Tyrants everywhere. I'd struck a chord. Nobody likes a bully, and everyone loves a clever comeback. The comments on my video were gold. This is the revenge we all dream of. Build me an Avenger. Karen's car got what it deserved. Looking back, it wasn't just about a mailbox. It was about fighting back when someone tries to control you, scare you, make you feel small. Karen thought she could rule us with her bat and her fines, but she underestimated me and the Avenger. The moral? Don't mess with a guy's mail, or you might meet a titanium surprise. So drop your own Karen stories in the comments. Have you faced an HOA tyrant? Hit that like button if you cheered for the Avenger, and subscribe for more epic revenge tales. Let's keep standing up to bullies, one mailbox at a time.